don't know if you've seen this mug. It's a little hedgehog. And then when you take his hat off, here's the lid. Got my usual sugar-free caramel and my coffee. Hello everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Molly and I do book content here on YouTube. I do a mixture of Christian and non-Christian reading. So yeah, anyone's welcome. But if you're Christian, I hope you enjoy, especially because of the Christian content. I'm still catching up on reading more Christian fiction books because I only knew about it in the past couple of years. So that is why most of my books will be secular mainstream fiction. But I'm getting there. So today I am coming at you with a bookish related tag. So I was actually tagged by to do this by Sammy from Sammy Reads S4F. I'll be linking her down below. Go give her a follow if you're not already. I think she's great. I really like her content. Firstly, I want to just quickly address the state of my face. I do apologise. I had a skin picking session last night, which I shouldn't have done. So I do apologise. Yes, I could have put some makeup on. Didn't think about it until now. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. I don't really wear much makeup anyway, so all of you regular viewers will know that. So yes. So the thank you for tagging me, Sammy. The tag is the bookish elements tag, and actually I was wanting to do this already because I saw Reese's bookish elements tag as well before Sammy tagged me in it a few months ago, and that's Reese from The Writing Songbird. So yeah, now I get to say that I've been tagged, which is great. So I'm gonna get straight into it and let's see what my answers are. So, question 1. How do you feel about foreshadowing or dropped hints? So I love that stuff. I think it's great. I mean, obviously, when it comes to hints and like a mystery, you don't want it to be too easy, but you do want, you know, especially if you're the sort of person who wants to try and solve the mystery as well. You know, you want some dropped hints, you know, to try and hopefully pick up on and try and figure out who the culprit was. So I really enjoy it. I really enjoy foreshadowing. I especially, well, I wouldn't say enjoyed, but my a recent-ish read of, well, Rainbow Valley, specifically by Ellen Montgomery, which was the penultimate book in the Anne of Green Gables series. There was foreshadowing for the coming World War, and it gave me like goosebumps and like chills and stuff, because, you know, we all know from, you know, being 100 years in the future, you know, we know what's coming with the whole little dropped hints within that book about from like newspapers and stuff. So yeah, I love that stuff. Question 2. Bookmarks. What do you use and how do you feel about bending the corners down? So I will show the bookmarks after I answer the question about bending corners. I used to bend the corners. I don't anymore, except when I am reading a non-fiction, specifically ones like a Christian non-fiction where, you know, maybe I might want to come back to it, sort of thing. Then I do turn the corners down. I don't usually use the tabs, even though I have tabs, so I could. I just kind of forget to do that. So I personally don't mind. I understand why others do not like it, and I think that's fair enough. I personally wouldn't want to do it on, unless if I'm borrowing from a friend and I can tell that they've turned down the corners, then I might be, I probably would still use a bookmark, but I wouldn't necessarily feel like I couldn't bend the corners down. But I wouldn't necessarily do it with a library book, although I do confess I used to as a child. But yeah, I don't personally have a particular for or against, but I don't really do it other than with non-fiction. I do, however, use bookmarks. Now, those of you who have been watching my videos for a while, you all know that I have bookmarks. I even did a bookmark video that I saw Reese, again, from the Writing Songbird, do, where she showed her bookmark collection. So these are all my bookmarks. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to show all of them because I did that video as well. So I will try and remember to link it, do like a little card at the top or whatever to show you my collection. However, I do have new ones. So what I will do is I will show you my new ones that you want to have seen in that video. One of them you will have seen me briefly show when I've been doing like a haul and stuff. So one of my new ones is this one. It's very Studio Ghibli style in the artwork, and I absolutely love this. I bought this at one of the independent bookshops that I go to a few times a year. I think it's probably more accurate. I wouldn't say regularly. And so I bought this when I think last time I was there, or the one before then. Either way. So that one is one you will have seen. The others, let's show you these. So I'll show you the Christmas ones. There, let's show the Christmas ones. So I've got this one, which is Christmassy. It says visit family and friends. I can't remember where I got this from. I think someone gave it me in a card. Someone I know physically in real life. Obviously my internet friends are real life too, but like people I can meet up with or whatever. Not that I meet up with them, but anyway. And then the next one is one my brother got when he bought something. I can't remember what he bought, but this came with it, and it's double-sided, which is cool. Of the same picture. So, and that's this one, very wintry with slightly Christmas vibes, and I love that one. I really like that one. It just feels like you're in some sort of medieval sort of film, and I love that. And then the last one is actually one I just got today. So a couple of my fellow co-hosts from when I was involved in the Tinsel and Tales readathon in December have sent Christmas cards. And mine from M's Books Are Everywhere, only just arrived today, this morning. So it's really good timing that I get to show this in this video. So she actually handmade both of these. So she handmade the card and the bookmark. I'll show the card as well because it's absolutely gorgeous. So there it is. There's the Christmas card. There's nothing on the inside except a little message, so I won't show that. But yeah, that's the card. I mean, look at that. And it says, "Oh, come, let us adore him," from the Christmas hymn / carol. And yeah, it's gorgeous. I love it. I don't know if she drew like the little, all of this, or whether she just coloured it in. But either way, I love it. So that's the card. And then she also made me a bookmark to go with it. So there's the bookmark. Look how pretty that is. And then it's just plain blue on the back. Got a little red ribbon. I love it. I wish I got it in time for Christmas. I would have, well, actually, no. It never would have got used. Because I got ill. Yes. But at least I've got it for next year. Or technically this year. And then I've got 3 non-Christmas related, although kind of are, because if you saw my what I got for Christmas video, I mentioned that I was given a Book Tokens gift card to spend like £15, and 3 technically of the items I got were bookmarks. So I'll show you those. So firstly, I got this one because I had to, with it being the Jurassic Reading Challenge for for the year that Cheryl is doing from Candlewick Library. So I got this one with dinosaurs on it, because then I can use it for Jurassic Park, sorry. So I just had to. I think everyone could agree. Also, I just like dinosaurs, although I'm not the sort of, I like dinosaurs and I know all their names. I'm not that good. I know some, and I may be able to know what they look like, but yeah, but I do like dinosaurs. And then the next one is just one with some books on it, and a little bit of gold. So there it is, and it's got like a yellow ribbon. Yeah, it seems to be all about girls, which is unintentional, you know, like a girls' books sort of collection. But yeah, so that's cool. And then the last one is a very famous painting, The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. So there it is, and I love that painting. It's just amazing, and it got a matching blue ribbon. So those are my new ones to the collection. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about all of that. So yeah. Question 3. Forgotten bookmarks. Have you ever found something strange in a book? So something strange in a book? I wouldn't necessarily say I've seen anything strange. I've seen the odd dead bug. And like receipts, but I wouldn't say anything strange that I can remember anyway. Question 4. Inscriptions and annotations. How do you feel about writing in a book, and how do you annotate if you do? So I don't really have feelings about writing in a book. I'm always like, if you want to, then do it. I personally don't really annotate or do any inscriptions or highlight even. Certainly with fiction, I have done it a couple of times with fiction, but that's when I've been doing like a group read or buddy read. So I felt like I not had to. Sounds like I was forced, but like I felt, oh, this would be a good idea, so then I can talk about it with whoever I'm buddy reading with. And then that was 2 books that were fiction, and then there was one fiction book that I did as a group read. I did that for because there's a lot of, I don't know how to describe it, but the book was Bunny by Mona Award, and you'll have seen it because I've talked about it and showed my tabs and stuff. So I did do it then, highlighting and annotation with and tabbing, but that's because it's a very weird book, and I really enjoyed doing it. But normally I don't really do anything like that with fiction. Sometimes I do with non-fiction, but I don't usually use tabs or highlighters. Normally I just use a pencil, and sometimes I might annotate. It really depends on what it is. Most of the time I'm just underlining or like doing little like brackets sort of thing to, you know, to highlight a particular paragraph or something, but that's because I really enjoyed it, or it spoke to me, or anything like that, and then sometimes I'll dog ear it as well. So yeah, I don't necessarily actually annotate with words unless I have something specific to write about it. So that's usually with Christian non-fiction, and usually when I'm not sure if I agree with a certain viewpoint that the author has. So like maybe, I don't know, maybe they said something where I'm like, I'm not sure if I agree with that as a biblically correct thing. But it wasn't, so far it wasn't, I've not had anything where it's been blaringly like, oh, this is very much against the typical Christian sort of agreements about things. Usually it's sort of like smaller things that aren't necessarily as important, but I just didn't agree with. So it's sometimes things like that, or it's things like in one book I remember writing about what translation of the Bible they were using quotes from, because they didn't say until at the back. And really, I think something like that should be really at the front, so then, you know, the reader knows what you're using, because it can get confusing if you're, you know, if you've not read that particular version, so you're like, wait, this doesn't sound like my Bible that I read, or whatever. So, but nothing, I've not had anything particularly bad to write about so far. But yeah, usually I don't write. Normally it's just, you know, oh, this sounds really good, or oh yes, this sounds, you know, this is important, or whatever. But I don't really write it. I just sort of highlight it or underline it or something, because I don't have any other thoughts. I'm just like, oh yeah, great, yeah, I like this, or whatever. So yeah, I'm not very good at that sort of thing, like writing things down, because usually I'm just reading and taking in the information. So unless there's something blaringly like, oh, I need to write this down for myself, or who might read this after me, if I get rid of it, or if someone borrows it, then, you know, they can read that if they want to. They might not want to, I don't know. But I do quite like it with non-fiction when I get it secondhand, and I see that someone's done stuff like that. I find it really interesting seeing, even if they don't write anything, I find it interesting seeing, you know, what spoke to them at the time they were reading it, you know, stuff like that. Okay, question 5. Introductions and footnotes. Do you read them or avoid them? And what makes a good intro? So, introductions and footnotes. It entirely depends. I tend not to read introductions unless they're reasonably short, or they're useful, but it does depend. So like a lot of your typical classics have introductions at the front, you know, maybe explanations about the book itself, usually written by some sort of literature person, and those are great, but I prefer, if possible, not to read them, because often, especially with a classic, it can spoil the actual book, and really they should tell you that before you get started, and I'm sure some do, but they don't always, and I think they should, because not everyone wants to know, you know, spoilers. So yeah, so I tend not to read them, but that's mainly because, with introductions, but that's mainly because a lot of them can be quite long, and I find, especially with a fiction, I don't need an introduction. Maybe an author's note, maybe a historical note, maybe. If it's a historical book, I might read those, and especially, again, if they're quite short, or if it's really interesting. So like with the historical note, if there's a decent amount in that historical note, then I'll read it, because that's interesting. That's not necessarily, and that won't necessarily spoil the book. So I don't mind that. But yeah, I tend not to read introductions. I'm more likely to with non-fiction, but again, it does depend on whether I find it's actually interesting or useful, or if it's really long. But yeah, what makes a good intro? I've no idea what makes a good intro. Just something that's interesting, but that's very vague, so I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not the person to ask. You need to ask a professional. Okay. Question 6. Accessories. Do you use bookish accessories like a clip-on reading light, a book sleeve, annotation materials, a bookstand, etc.? Most of those I don't. I used to have a reading light. Yeah, I used to have a reading light, but I don't really use one anymore, because I have my Kindle. I don't use book sleeves. I like the idea of them, but then there's money, and then there's also picking a pattern, okay? And like, I can't be doing all that. I don't have a place to put them. To like have all the really cute ones and have all the ones that you want, and then you've got different sizes for different sizes of books. Oh, yeah, it's just a lot. So I don't really have a book sleeve. Annotation materials, yes, I do technically have those. I've got highlighters, which are in my BB-8 mug. There they are. These are technically Bible highlighters, I think. Are they Mr. Pen? Yeah, Mr. Pen, yeah. They're the Mr. Pen Bible highlighters. Although ironically, I don't really use them for my Bible. But, you know, you can use them for anything. They're highlighters at the end of the day. But they're ones that are okay for the thin Bible paper. So I have those. Again, I don't always use them. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I do have tabs. So I have your sort of classic, not necessarily school tabs, but they're the ones you see in schools and stuff like that, like your classic, you know, really bold colours of highlighter colours. But I also picked up 2 packets of different shades of highlighters. No, not highlighters, tabs. And then I try and match them to the cover if I can, or as close as possible. Which does get harder the more tabs you use and the more tabs you run out of. But yeah, yeah, those are my annotation materials. Obviously I've got pens, but I'm not really counting them because pens. I don't use a bookstand, and I don't know what other accessories there are. Obviously bookmarks, and you've already seen me show those, and I have my bookmark video. I'm trying to think anything else. Any other accessories? Not really. I guess you could, if you want to count my Kindle, I do have the Kindle case. Actually, I've got it here. So I put stickers on the back of my actual Kindle, and then and one on the front. Yeah, I've got a case and a hand holder thing. So I guess you could count those as accessories if you want to count the ebook version of book accessories. But I don't really use anything else that's at least not specifically books. I mean, I have like lamps, you know, to read from and stuff like that, but like the lamps, I'd use them even if I wasn't a reader, so you know, yeah. Question 7. Art and illustrations. How do cover art and illustrations affect your reading experience? Well, my reading experience, they don't necessarily add or take away from it. Cover art on book covers definitely draw me in. As those of you who have watched my Am I a Snob About Books video, I am very much a cover buyer. But I don't just go off that. It's kind of like when people talk about, you know, dating or whatever, you know, how someone looks does affect, you know, whether you might be interested in them. But then, you know, it's the inside that counts. You know, it's their personality, you know, and all the rest of it, what they stand for and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like that with me about books. I do love a good illustration. I'm not put off by not having them, but I do love illustrations inside the book. I do really like it as well in classics. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's because I find classics quite heavy going, and when I say classics, I don't necessarily mean children's classics, although they often do have illustrations, but not always. But more in terms of, like, you know, say Pride and Prejudice, or, you know, a Charles Dickens, you know, like some of those classics do have illustrations in them. And I don't know why sometimes I find that really adds to it and kind of breaks up all of that writing. So I do really like them in that. I have read classics that don't have illustrations, so it doesn't necessarily put me off. But yeah, I do really like illustrations. I hope that answered the question. I'm not sure if it did. Yeah, no, I answered it, yeah. Okay, the last question, question 8, is format. Which format of books do you prefer? Hardback, paperback, audio, ebook? And do you do different things for different situations, like use ones for different situations? So if I'm going to go for a typical physical book, I do prefer paperback because on average, they are easier to hold, and my hands are small. I have small fingers, and so it can be quite difficult to even hold a paperback sometimes, depending on what type of paperback it is, but hardbacks especially. But I do read both. I enjoy both. I'm not that fussed, especially if it's a newer release that I'm really excited about, then, you know, I don't mind then. But I read all of them, or slash listen. So I do physical, I do ebooks, as you've seen with me showing my Kindle. I'm getting into audiobooks. I've read quite a lot already this month, for me, quite a lot. So that's cool. So yeah, I like all of them. And do I do different ones for different situations? Kind of. But only in the context of lighting. So I often use a Kindle when I'm in a taxi because I don't drive. So if I'm in a car and it's dark and I can't really read a physical book, then obviously a Kindle would be better. So I like using them then, but I read them all at all times of the day and night sort of thing. So it doesn't really matter in that respect. But I did try doing an audiobook when I went to the gym yesterday. For me, yesterday as I'm filming. And that was really good. So I don't mind doing it then as well with an audiobook. I used to just listen to music, which is also good too. But I thought I'd try the audiobook because I got a new pair of headphones that I bought for myself as a Christmas present. So I wanted to try them out in that context with quite a lot of noise. The first time I tried it, which wasn't at the gym, I didn't do it right, so I couldn't hear the audiobook. But then I realised I just needed to put the noise cancelling on. It's very useful for the background noise. So yeah, I actually had a better experience doing it that way when I was at the gym. So yeah, I do technically, but yeah, I'll listen or read physically / an ebook at any time of the day. It doesn't necessarily matter unless I can't read a physical because there's no light, like I said with the car. So yeah, that is all of my questions. Thank you so much, Sammy, for tagging me in this tag. I've been wanting to do this, so I'm glad I finally got round to it. I don't know who the original creator is, so I apologise for not tagging them or anything, but yeah, thank you anyway to Sammy. Yes, I don't think I have anything else to say, so I will probably leave you now. Thank you for watching. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know, give me an update. Let me know how you're doing with your reading and life in general. I'm doing okay, I think. Well, I'm a bit sore after the gym yesterday though. I haven't been for a good long time because I've been amidst of either ill, closed for Christmas, ill, period. So, yeah, I'm a bit sore today. I did try and do less, but obviously because it's been so long since I've been, my body's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? So, yeah, all the fun stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, I should think about tagging people. Who should I tag? That's a good question. The problem is I don't know who's already done this. So I do know who Sammy has already tagged, other than me, and that was Jamie from the Canton Reader. So I know not to tag her. Trying to think. Who should I tag, guys? Although there's no point asking you, it's too late. Well, why am I blanking on all the people I watch? I don't really know why. I'm going to tag. Okay, so obviously there's no pressure for anyone. And I apologise in advance if I have tagged you and you've already done it. I do apologise. Just let me know. I don't mind. but I'm going to tag Lucy from Lucy Chronicles. And M from M's Books Are Everywhere, because I mentioned her earlier, didn't I, with her bookmark and Christmas card. So I'll tag you two. I apologise if either of you or both of you have already done it. I apologise. No worries, and obviously there's no time scale to this, so just whenever you want. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and God bless. Love you all. Bye.